Hello, hello, hello. What's up? What's crack-a-lacking? How's it going? How you living? How you feeling? Okay, so today I'm going to do something a little bit similar to some of the videos I've done in the past, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about Botswana versus South Africa. However, in this video, I'm going to be highlighting um, the education system in both countries. It was requested a while ago, and so I've decided let me just quickly get to it. Okay, so the first thing is let's look at how the education systems are similar. So South Africa as well as Botswana both have a UK based education system. So as you can see, um, in Botswana, kids start school from the age of 6, give or take. In South Africa, from the age of 7, although you do get a couple of exceptions there. Both systems have a primary school, junior secondary, and senior secondary, although on this particular diagram, or table, it isn't stipulated that way. So this is just the guideline, but in South Africa you have different segments as well. So kids would start primary school, and they'd go to grade 1 until grade 7, then they'd go to high school, which is then grade 8 to matric, or grade 12. And yeah, so as you can see, both systems have some kind of major examination towards the end. It looks like for Botswana, it's the Botswana General Certificate of Secondary Examination, which is BGCSE, the Botswana General Certificate of Secondary Examination. That doesn't sound right to me, but since this is what it looks like here, I'll assume it's correct. I'll drop a couple of links down below, and then you can just verify that that does hold true or not. And then in South Africa, we've got an exam in matric, and this goes one of two ways, right? So either you pass or you fail. If you fail, you can choose to repeat this. If you pass, then no need. And this is basically then gives you a national senior certificate, right? And then as you have a look further there, you can see how the systems would go to university, as well as higher education, in terms of, when I say university, I mean like a bachelor's degree, and then and so forth and so on. Cool. So moving along swiftly, one of the major differences is Botswana actually has something called a free education for all children. So this is pretty cool. As you can see, with only natural diamonds there, that blog speaks to how this works, but that's pretty cool. It's not the same in South Africa. So in Botswana, every child is guaranteed a free primary and secondary school education subsidized by the government. That is so cool, right? Yeah, I know. Okay. And then as we just keep going there, I have dropped some links down below just to give you a better understanding of how that would work. However, even though every child does get a free education, it is not compulsory. So access to primary and secondary education is relatively easy. But then when we look at secondary and tertiary education, this becomes more limited due to the highly selective process. So yeah, there are some T's and C's involved regarding that free education scenario. Now let's look at South Africa. So South Africa's education system, like I said, is similar in that it's also derived from a UK perspective. We've got 4 terms, and kids start from the ages of 6 or 7 until the age of about 18, 19, give or take a couple of things there. Average classes have about 30 students each, or 30 learners each. But obviously, if you go to private school, you could have far less students in a class, right? So it does depend on where the learner is attending schooling, right? Something is quite different in the South African education system, in that even though the government doesn't provide free education for all, there are ways that parents can assist themselves in terms of finances. So what I mean is, even though a child could be attending a public school and does not have access to free education, they could be granted an exemption, which could subsidize their studying. So that kind of does mimic free education, except it's not completely free necessarily, right? So there's a couple of things that one would need to check. I have added some images that just show how the exemption is calculated. There's a very specific formula which basically looks like this. It would say E is equal to 100 into F plus A divided by C, close bracket, right? So when I say into, I mean open bracket. So fulfilling or filling in each variable there, there is an amount that E is then calculated for, right? So then you'd find that E could be equal to 10%, E could be equal to 27%, or whatever it is that you've calculated. And depending upon what E is equal to, you would then be given this so-called exemption. So this is determined by the school governing body. So a parent would then just submit their application to the school governing body and then potentially be granted the exemption. And so that's how it would work on our front. So I did something a little bit extra because I was interested in how the exemption works, and I was researching a little bit, and then I actually found that you do actually have free schools in South Africa as well. It's just not all the schools. There's a website, I'll drop the link down below. It will give you like a list of all the free schools in each province. There's quite a number of them. I took the liberty to kind of go through each of them, and I was able to summarize my findings. So basically what you see before you now tells us that 52% of schools in South Africa are private schools, 48% are public schools, and then when looking at public schools, 67% of all public schools are no fee paying schools, and 33% of all public schools are fee paying schools. And then 32% of all schools are actually no fee paying schools, and 68% of all schools are fee schools or fee paying schools. And by all schools, I mean private or independent, as well as public schools. So let's quickly have a look at this and see what this actually entails, right? So as you can see, KZN has the highest proportion of no paying or of no fee schools, right? 34%. And then as you can see, it is followed by a couple of other provinces. We can see Limpopo at 23%, Mpumalanga at 10%, Gauteng and Northwest at 9%, Western Cape 7%, Free State and Northern Cape 3%. So that's pretty much what percentage of no fee schools lie in which provinces, which gives us a nice little visual there. Now, if we were to look at the number of schools classified by fee payment, you can see there's about 47,347 total schools. This is based on 2023 data. And then no fee schools were about 15,021 schools in total, and fee paying schools were 32,326 schools in total. So I have dropped the link down below to show which websites I quoted these figures from. Now, moving along, we've also got the number of no fee schools by province. As we spoke about earlier, most of those schools are situated in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal. That's about 5,110 schools. And as you can see, depending on where you are in the country, you have access to fewer and fewer schools potentially in terms of no fee schools. Limpopo has 3,524 schools, Mpumalanga 1,503, Gauteng 1,415, Northwest 1,310, Western Cape 973, Free State 782, and Northern Cape, which has the biggest land mass, has the smallest number of no fee schools, which is 404 schools. So this just gives us a nice kind of visual regarding how many no fee paying schools are situated where. And that's pretty much the gist of everything. So yes, there's a very big difference when it comes to fee structure and the education systems in Botswana versus the education system in South Africa. If you have any comments, any questions, please leave your comment, like, thumbs up right below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Cheers.